Well, thanks for tuning into today's video. We've got a lot going on today. We're going to be looking at some heavy rain that's coming up through today. It's going to be more heavy showers. Going to be wet tonight across many parts of the country. Unsettled through the weekend and into next week as well. Start of next week also. So a lot going on, and then we're going to have a look at the charts for the end of June in towards the start of July. Some of the longer range ones. So big update this video. I'll just quickly get on with it. We've got heavy showers coming into the west just at the moment. This was a radar pitch from the UK Met Office at 9 o'clock this morning. Some really heavy rain there across much of Wales and southwestern parts of England. As we've gone through the morning, that area of heavy showery rain with some thunder has moved eastwards across Wales, getting in towards the north and west Midlands, taking a very similar track actually to the area of heavy showers that we had pushed across the country yesterday afternoon. It took a very similar track to that. I think we will find that area of heavy thundery rain, thundery showers pushing eastwards through much of the north and the east Midlands again into Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, down in towards East Anglia. Very similar areas to the places that saw the heavy thundery rain yesterday. And then we've got another area of really heavy rain moving in towards Ireland just at the moment. That's going to be with us overnight tonight. So quite a wet spell is coming up. This is the FACS chart for midnight night. This would be human interpretation of the miles by forecast of the Met. It's got a cold front here sweeping across the country overnight. That's going to be an active cold front taking heavy rain across many parts of British Isles. This is the GFS precipitation forecast, rainfall forecast for today. This is for lunchtime, 12 o'clock day while I'm doing this video. We've got the heavy showers there across Wales coming in towards the north and the west Midlands as well. Going through the afternoon, that area of heavy showery rain will push across much of the Midlands in towards parts of northern East Anglia, in towards Yorkshire, Lincolnshire. Some really heavy showers there. More showers breaking out for Scotland. There could be thunder in with these showers, so don't be surprised if you hear some rumbles of thunder, see some flashes of lightning. And then there's the cold front coming in across Ireland through the afternoon. Some really heavy rain on that cold front for Ireland this afternoon. As we go into tonight, this is the midnight tonight, that first area of thundery showery rain across much of northern England and down in towards the Midlands is clearing away into the North Sea, dying away. But this next area of precipitation coming into the west is the cold front. That's heavy rain, persistent rain that is, moving eastwards, and by the time you get through to 6 o'clock in the morning, the rain then is on the eastern side. Some dark blue colours there indicate that's going to be really quite heavy rain indeed overnight tonight, perhaps giving up to 20 millimetres in some places, getting on towards an inch of rain. Yeah, really active cold front coming through. That cold front then clears away into the North Sea through tomorrow. So this is for lunchtime, midday at on Saturday the 15th of June. That cold front, as I say, clearing into the North Sea. Then we've got these heavy showers following on behind in towards the west, and sort of we end up in a very showery sort of scenario again through the course of the Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening. Again, bright blue colours there indicating some really quite heavy downpours are likely with hail and thunder, no doubt mixed in. Again, it's a very similar area that was affected by yesterday's showers, will be affected by today's showers. So northern England down towards the Yorkshire, Lincolnshire, the north of East Anglia, into the north and the East Midlands, backing off through in towards Wales. Very similar areas that are going to be affected by tomorrow's showers as today's and yesterday's. Quite strange how that's working out. Now, going beyond that, it looks as though the temperature is going to lift up a little bit as we go into next week. It's going to be a really quite a cool weekend, but as we go into next week, the GFS temperature ensembles are showing temperatures lifting up. The red line, remember, is the average, where we should be for the time of year. All members of the ensemble are agreeing that we're going to lift up above the red line next week, so it is going to get much warmer, potentially anyway in the upper atmosphere. Not necessarily, this doesn't necessarily translate down onto the surface, but certainly in the upper atmosphere is going to get quite a bit warmer next week. But notice we do have precipitation survives here through this period that we're lifting up the temperatures in the upper atmosphere. So whilst the temperatures are lifting up in the upper atmosphere, it doesn't necessarily translate down to the surface all that well, because we've got quite a bit of precipitation being forecast there through the course of next week. So there could be some quite heavy rain around at times. This is the GFS chart for next week, for Saturday, for Monday I should say, the 17th of June, the start of next week. And we've got this area of low pressure sitting just to the south of the country, and this low pressure is really bringing the increase in the temperature. So we've got this area of low pressure across much of France, down in towards the Bay of Biscay as well. That's trying to push northwards. It's trying to bring warm air with it out of the Mediterranean. Some very hot air is shooting up in towards central parts of Europe. It's going to get really hot across much of Central Europe early next week. But this low pressure is trying to bring that hot air up, but it's also bringing unsettled conditions with it as well. So the precipitation forecast for Monday, for instance, next week is showing that we've got really heavy rain there across much of England and Wales. That could be thundery, that rain. If the upper air temperatures, the potential energy in the atmosphere, is going to be greatly increased next week, I think, or early next week at least. But hot air, very hot air, sitting there across central parts of Europe into Germany. We're just on the periphery of that hot air, but it's enough to be producing a lot of energy in the atmosphere, so there will be the potential for heavy rain and thunderstorms, I think, at the start of next week. Look at the convective potential there for central parts of Europe early next week. Some really high convective potential there for Central Europe. We haven't got quite such extensive convective potential because we're on the periphery of the heat, but nevertheless it's enough, I think, to be producing the risk of thunder and some heavy rain as well. But despite that, temperatures are actually on the cool side early next week for much of England and Wales, just into the upper teens. I say the reason for that is because despite the temperatures in the upper atmosphere going up, we've also got pouring rain, and that of course limits the potential. But nevertheless, it will be more humid, and we're very, very close to this heat that's going up through eastern parts of France, so we could pull in some of that heat into the southeast in particular early next week. Moving out beyond that into the middle of next week, and then we start to see these thundery areas of low pressure begin to move away to the east, and we start to pull the winds back around more towards the west. But these will still be bringing showers in across the country, and no doubt fresher air as well. And this is how we go into Thursday the 20th of June, for instance, with the high pressure to the southwest. The thundery lows have cleared off into Central Europe, and we bring down this northwesterly wind. So back sort of cool, showery conditions, always more unsettled up in the north through the second half of next week. ECMWF, what does that do with the thundery low early next week? Well, there it is, sitting just to the south of the country early next week. That is the thundery low. They're trying to push up across into southern parts of the country early next week on Monday, the 17th of June. As you go through to Tuesday the 18th, well, that low pressure band is sitting just off the southeastern coast, just off the south and southeastern coast of England. So there it is there. No doubt bringing risk of some heavy rain and thunderstorms there. An increase in temperatures as well early next week is likely with this, but how much that translates down to the surface, I'm not sure, because I say it will be very wet indeed, potentially with that low pressure. And then through the middle of next week, again, the winds back round to the west with this area of low pressure up over Iceland, bringing in these westerly winds across the country. So the thundery weather will likely clear away into Central Europe, or the rain will likely clear away into Central Europe through the middle of next week, with winds turning around to the west. Finally, just going to have a look at the longer range charts. This is for JMA. This is broken down into a weekly period. So this is the first week, taking us from the 13th of June to around the 20th of June. These are 500 millibar heights. Blue areas indicating low pressure, yellow and red areas indicating high pressure. The blue area here sitting just to the west of the British Isles. This is where the British Isles is, just here. The blue area is sitting around the British Isles. The British Isles is actually there. So we are under low pressure in the next week, as we've already seen. It's not surprising because we've seen this on the charts. Low pressure is going to be mainly dominating weather through that first weekly period. Going out to the second weekly period, and it's still the same sort of idea really, with low pressure here around the British Isles. So this is taking us to the final week of June, when we're likely to be seeing low pressure still more or less in control. The blue colours there indicating very unsettled conditions, or quite unsettled conditions anyway, likely to be persisting into the final week of June. Then going into the third and fourth weekly periods of the forecast, which is actually taking us into the first and second weeks of July. Well then, pressure 500 millibar heights nearer normal, actually, we're in these pale colours then. The blue colours have moved to the south and to the north, so the British Isles actually got near normal 500 millibar heights at that stage, indicating maybe that we're starting to see a trend more towards slightly settled more settled conditions going out towards the end, towards the start of July. But certainly I think the rest of June has the potential to be quite unsettled. The South Korean model has also updated for July, and this is for sea level pressure, showing that we've got low pressure here sitting to the north and west of British Isles for early July. Big areas of low pressure around Greenland and Iceland dominating. High pressure is to the south, but it's quite weak, so while some areas would likely be drier, I think it would be unsettled for the first stages of July, with low pressure quite dominant to the north and to the northwest of the country. Into the middle of July, the Korean model is forecasting low pressure to still be quite dominant there across and to the north of British Isles. That's where the low pressure is, where the blue colours are. The high pressure is sitting to the south, so always drier to the south of the country, but generally that's quite unsettled sort of pattern for the middle of July as well. And then as we go out towards the end of July, interestingly, then at the end of July, which presumably these are broke down into 10-day periods, so the 1st of the 10th, the 10th to the 20th, and the 20th to the 30th. Interestingly, as we get to the final week of July, we start to see high pressure building more towards the northwest of the country, so it would start to settle down, but that's quite a cool area for the high pressure to be sitting, to be honest, out to the northwest. But that's a long way off, and certainly before that, the South Korean model is really predicting that the first and middle stages of July are likely to be very unsettled. So I think we've got to pick our days. If we get some decent days, make most of them, because the general idea from these longer range models is that certainly for the last stages of June and into the start of July, it's likely to be staying quite unsettled. And of course, in the next week, we've got a fair amount of rain to come as well. I'll be doing all the detail about that in the week ahead forecast. If you get any storms today, enjoy them if you like them. And then really wet tonight across some parts of the country as well. So lots going on. Hope you enjoyed the video. That's it for now. Come back for weekend forecast tomorrow. Bye for now.